Hi, my name is John, and this is Business Update. In this week's episode, we'll be talking about the situation that is plaguing Netflix, the streaming giant, which is been seeing a decline in terms of their subscriberships in the past few months or so. Now, what could be the cause of this? We'll be taking a look this one today. We're using the article based on techtimes.com. So why is Netflix losing their subscribers? And it's, you know, slight, slowly but surely growing in terms of people leaving their platform now. Can something be done about this? So we'll discuss that later on. So according to the article, so Netflix is now losing its subscribers as mentioned, and obviously Netflix compared to the other streaming giants, namely Disney Plus, you have Paramount and whatnot, heavily relies on the subscribership here, not like the other companies as mentioned that has other ways to generate revenue for their business. And losing subscribers is a key component what made them successful in the first place. So let's try to find out what's the situation, what's going on here. Now, me myself is a subscriber of the platform here. Obviously, they have a plethora of catalogs as well as new content that they're uploading for their core uh, subscriber base. But the question is, why is it people are leaving the platform? And what one of the main issues that springs to mind is because of the content, so to speak. And for me, anyway, in terms of experiencing consuming content, not just on the traditional network TV, has now shifted online, which in this case, in the streaming services here. And I think there's a similar situation that the TV networks are, encountering nowadays in terms of how do you get viewers to continuously watch their content. Now, obviously, for TV networks, could be an episodal content. You have to come back and watch it every week. But in the case of Netflix, they give you in chunks of the entire series. Typically season wise and so forth, and you can binge watch their content here. But obviously, at the end of the day, if the content is not king, not to the audience's liking, then people would look for other contents that offer a better offering here. Now, should Netflix be concerned? Will this spell doom and gloom for the company here? So let's take a closer look here. Anyway, so the American subscription service provider has been bombarded with various problems leading to revenue losses. Obviously, if their business model is tied to their subscribership here, so Netflix recorded its largest quarterly loss, revealing that the tech giant lost around almost 1 million subscribers. The streaming provider said more than 2 million subscribers are expected to leave the company in the second quarter of 2022. Now, obviously, 2 million is a substantial subscribership, but in terms of the grand scheme of things, that what do you call this? Netflix is still king in terms of the numbers of its subscribership, because if we were to look at the of its main competitors here, so you can see here Netflix is still king with a whopping 220 million subscribers still. So despite a blip, you would say that's roughly about a percent of drop in their total subscribership. But if you notice, their main competitor, I wouldn't say Amazon Prime, despite bridging the gap of what Disney has and Netflix has. I think this is more conflated because the fact that the many video Amazon Prime Video subscribers is also tied to their Amazon Prime account for their delivery of products. But in terms of sheer number, Amazon is not far behind. But look at their main competitor, which I think is Disney Plus, which has a whopping 137 million now. They only started way back in 2019. That was before the pandemic, and they've come a long way to, bridge the gap or catch up to try to catch up, which is Netflix, who is the giant here. But it's still a long ways. But obviously, Disney has a vast resources to compete with any company since they are holders of many Disney films. You also have Lucasfilms, you have Marvel Studios, Disney Toon Studios, and a variety of catalogs that they can offer to their core fans here, which I think is a pretty significant competitor for Netflix here, and which goes back to the main issue here. The decrease in subscribers, should they be concerned? Are they shifting to a different competitors here with better offering? Maybe so, and maybe the fact that it's not just Amazon or Disney that are offering here. If we were to take a look again, uh, with less than 100 subscribers, 100 million subscribers, you have HBO Max and YouTube Premium, meaning offering more contents than one could realize. So it splits the market share, which Netflix is still king. And with less than 50 million subscribers, you have the rest of the pack. Hulu, which is owned by Disney. You have Paramount Plus, which is owned by Paramount. You also have Apple TV trying to compete. You have Peacock, which is only have a paltry 28 million subscribers. Then you have Discovery Plus, Showtime, and ESPN, and so forth and so forth. So it just goes to show that there are so many options online. Whether before you used to watch content on your television. Now they're trying to get your attention you know through streaming services here. And question here is, what can Netflix do about this one? Now, it mentions here the Netflix shares are experiencing a massive decline of around 70%, which is, that's the name of the game in terms of stock valuation. It goes up and down. And obviously, promising that it will continue to grow is a very misleading notion, because up to a certain point, the peak concurrent number of new subscribers will always plateau at a certain point. And the fact that they've been in the industry for more than a decade, maybe they're losing their steam, and maybe because of competition is warranted here. So to the point that the valuation has been reduced by as much as 90 billion here. So that's not chump change here. But at the end of the day, there's still the streaming giant here. But what's interesting here, they're stating that, or the article stating that the streaming giant hasn't received fewer Emmy nominations this past July, although it offered more programs. So Netflix was only nominated 105 times. Now, I don't know about being nominated is a indicator if the subscribership is growing or not. I mean, obviously this is more for recognition per se, but at the end of the day, it's the hours that the viewers are watching in your programs, whether it's TV series, movies, or what type of content, is should be the measuring stick. But sad fact is, those streaming giants, similar to not similar to movies, it's difficult to find out how many viewers are actually watching their content. The fact that many of their series after a season or two are being canceled is pretty telling here. And obviously, at the end of the day, if no one watches your content, then maybe you need to reconsider what type of contents would appeal to a massive audience and not just to a small one. And obviously, many of the studios, not just the streaming giants here, namely movie studios, have been investing heavily more, spending more in production budget, but not necessarily getting the desired outcome or profit here. And until they realize that it's not just the money that you spend that will get the result, but obviously the story is one, the key actors is important. One that springs to mind that was a big flop for Netflix is, what was it, that the film with The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot? Is it Burn Notice? I forgot what's the film. So they had a star-studded cast, but the story, the characters themselves is not believable. And didn't do well. But another film that, it's not necessarily, high action pack, more on drama. The film of Hustle by Adam Sandler did, for me, is a better film overall, and in terms of offering a different type of genre or focus on story on basketball in this case. So it makes it a compelling case for me to watch. And I think there's a new one from Ryan Gosling for the is it The Gray Man? I forget the film. I haven't watched it, which is recently released in Netflix here, so I'm looking forward to it. So again, so it's a confluence of many factors that's contributing to the decline of their subscriberships. And obviously competition is, that's the name of the game. And obviously Disney wants to take over the mantle of being the leader in terms of the streaming services here. The fact that the it was exacerbated, or they had to shift their strategy due to the pandemic, and it tends to benefit them in the long run. You have the movies that you show on theaters, then you have other alternatives also for audiences to watch it at home in their own computers here or smartphones here. Now, it also mentions here the rising subscriber losses are also caused by the increased competition, which I mentioned. And I think the plethora of, companies, going into the streaming services is important. And I think, Netflix has invested a lot, has been the pioneer in terms of the streaming services here. And they could still, change the course of their direction, not let it get out of hand, since they've been in the market for so long, established themselves. They just have to be careful in terms of, what type of contents they showcase, not focus more on shall we say, more hotly debated topics, or maybe only a minority of groups that will appeal to them. But again, it goes back to the rising cost that they're spending more and more in here. But in the case of one of a very popular series, the Squid Game, which is, made for the Korean market, which became popular, which I was happened to watch the entire series. And there's been news that they'll be creating a second series. I don't know how would that pan out, but creating original content, maybe from different regions, and that would cater to those markets. And eventually, maybe it would become, if it would be more popular, it would be accepted worldwide, would be the best route, since you don't have to spend so much money, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, for high budgeted shows that, there's no guarantee that will get you, similar success like movies here, as we've seen in the movie theaters, that, at the end of the day, if people does not like your content, regardless if it's in the streaming world or in movie theaters and whatnot, people will show their preferences or not, and it would reflect in the bottom line here. Now, according to a UCLA professor, Tom Noonan, mentions that the scale of such ambition is impressive, but it turns out it's unsustainable. Yes, obviously, being at the top of the market is difficult. Getting to the top is easy, but staying on the top is a daunting task. And how they do that? Well, there's always a chance for them to bounce back here if they can right the shift in terms of understanding what the audience want in terms of content, whether it's comedy, action, sci-fi, and whatnot. And obviously, continuing collecting the backlog of content, movies, and TV series. And I tend to watch more of the older series in terms of the Star Trek original, the Generations. You have the DS9 and even Voyager. And I tend to binge on it if I have free time here, and watch older films, and that is rewatchable here. And I think that's the key. I think that the Netflix management has to understand that they have to create content that would engage people, that is rewatchable. So buying old catalogs is a good way to start off, but eventually you have to create content not just to appease or to attract current demographics, but that would stand the test of time. Is, I think, even more important if they want rewatchability that, through word of mouth, people, if they like watching it, they would recommend it to their friends and families and so forth and so forth. And then, the viewing hours will increase gradually, and, they will get the desired result. But focusing on the short-term gain by, shelling millions, a boatload of money, expecting to get tremendous result, doesn't always pan out, as mentioned here, that, several films in Netflix alone that has bombed out. I think comedy, I forgot what was the superhero from Miss McCarthy, the comedian. It bombed out as well. So it's not a guarantee just because you're a comedian that, if the story is not compelling, people will not watch it. And, even the Adam Sandler films in Netflix, that all did really well, but, like in the case in Hustle, as I mentioned, I really enjoyed it. And even the murder mystery film, which I enjoyed. I mean, it's a typical Adam Sandler, and, I like Adam Sandler as a person and the characters that he portrays, not varying too much, but enjoyed them nonetheless here. So we'll see what happens here if Netflix plans for the next few months and years would be able to write the course here, or will the other companies, as I mentioned, Amazon or even Disney, be able to overtake them in the near future here. Anyway, I think that concludes our discussion for today. Leave your comments down below if you think that Netflix is in hot waters, or this is just a bump in the road, so to speak here. Anyway, come back again on Wednesday for more business update. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.